welcome to Carroll School. Today is our Middle School Visitors Day, and we are just so grateful that you are able to join us. Today, you will learn more about what happens inside our classrooms here at Carroll. We're going to begin with Dr. Renee Greenfield, who is our new head of school. She just began on July 1st of this school year. This is not her first Visitors Day, but it is her first Visitors Day as head of school for the middle school. We will also hear from the division head for the middle school, Allison West, and we will get an inside peek into our classrooms. We will complete this morning with a Q&A session where we'll answer all the questions that come up over the course of this as much as we possibly can. So without further ado, we welcome Dr. Renee Greenfield.
Thanks so much, Kelly. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for setting aside some time to join us. As Kelly mentioned, the last special visitors day I attended was about 20 years ago, hosting folks like you, but live in my fifth grade classroom here at Carroll. So by way of introducing what we do at Carroll, I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about myself and why, after 20 years, I have returned to this magical school. So I guess I'd start by saying the real story is that I never, ever wanted to be a teacher. Both of my parents were educators. So I went to college and I graduated with a degree in speech and language pathology, which technically wasn't education, or at least in my mind. After college, I dedicated a year of service through AmeriCorps. And then I went on to work as a speech and language therapist in Lawrence, Massachusetts, just north of here. I spent a year in Lawrence, and then that summer, I was working as a lifeguard in a summer camp at Maine. And I met a Carroll School teacher. And all summer, she gushed about this place called the Carroll School, this amazing school for kids with language-based learning differences. And by the end of the summer, she had talked me into applying. I, after that, spent 4 years at Carroll. This picture you hear on the slide is evidence that I really was here in 2002. This comes from the 2002 yearbook. After spending 4 years at Carroll, I decided to work with students with dyslexia in Newton, Massachusetts. And after that, I spent a whole bunch of years in graduate school. And when I was at graduate school, I spent a lot of time unpacking questions that were really important to me about language development, how kids learn, learning differences, bilingualism, social justice, and the intersection between all of those big questions. And when I was thinking about those big questions, I was working in the public schools. I spent a lot of time in the Boston public schools, leading research studies and spending a lot of time with aspiring teachers. So when graduate school ended, I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I took a position in academia. And after 4 years in academia, I realized I really missed working in schools, both with teachers and with students. So I made a choice to shift back into the K-12 education world. And I took a position in Amherst, Massachusetts, in the public schools. I did some instructional coaching, taught teachers OG, and did school leadership, mostly at the elementary level. And then this summer, I returned back to Carroll. So it's been kind of an amazing journey. So why come back to Carroll after 20 years? So this compass that you see here on the slide, if you haven't seen it before, it's our logo. So I think that I came back to Carroll in part because of how magnetic this place is, right? The magneticism, perhaps, of the compass. Of all the places I've taught and worked, this one feels the most at home for me. And you'll hear me talking about belonging in a bit. It's a place where I feel a great sense of belonging. And so I sort of think that the compass brought me back home. And the real benefit of having worked in so many other places and working here, we have the kind of educators whose life work literally is to help kids figure out how to read, figure out how to think, explore, and be courageous humans. There is literally no other school like it, both in mission and in spirit. Over the last 6 months, I've spent a lot of time on a listening tour, learning folks' perspectives about Carroll. I've talked to countless alumni, current parents, past parents, grandparents. I may have talked to some of you on this call. It was such a delight to hear about folks' perspectives of Carroll. And so based in part on some of that information, I'm going to talk today about what I believe are the strengths of Carroll. Some of them are new and some of them have been in place since our inception 50 years ago. So I'm going to spend about 5 or 10 minutes talking to you about this piece, and then I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Allison West, who's going to talk a little more specifically about the mission. Sorry, about the middle school. Okay, let's take a look at our mission. I think it's a fabulous place to start. You, in the comfort of your own homes, wherever you are in Iowa or in Florida or here in Lincoln, I'd invite you to read along with me. I'd ask you to use whatever strategies you need to do so. Know that no one else can hear you, just yourself, and read along with me. So here we go. Carroll School empowers children with language-based learning differences, such as dyslexia, to become academically skilled students who are strong self-advocates and confident lifelong learners. Second sentence, Carroll is an inclusive community committed to embracing diverse strengths, identities, and lived experiences in order to give each child what they most need. Well done. Give yourself, a round of applause. So I see this mission day in and day out at school. And we're most well known for the first sentence in this mission. We, for a long time, have been well known for teaching young people the academic skills they need to go out into the world and do great things. And we teach them how to self-advocate. The second sentence is something we also have done for a long time, and we are committed to moving this work forward. We are actively working in all our spaces to embrace students' lived experiences and give each child what they most need. There are 75 people on this call. My guess is perhaps there are 75 different lived experiences, and we welcome all of them at Carroll. And the last thing I'll say about the mission is that we know that both of these sentences are essential for a child's growth and development, and that the value of coming to Carroll is that kids actually get both. And we believe that we can't do one without the other. So let's talk a little bit about the strengths of our mission statement. You may see mission statements everywhere on walls, on websites, but I want to talk a little bit about our mission statement. And I believe it's really the path for our school. Our compass is our logo is our compass. And we believe our mission, our collective mission, is also our compass. It keeps us in the right direction. It helps us course correct. And it guides us on our journey as a school. So I want to lead you through 5 quick examples of how you will see our mission alive in school in some of the videos you see today and when you're able to join us on campus. The first is that we teach the whole child. Our educators pay attention to kids. They know them deeply, and they build connections with them, everything they bring to school. And you can imagine when you know kids deeply, you are then better able to figure out exactly what they need. And that's what GEC is. And you'll hear that often if you haven't heard it already. And when we say GEC, we mean give each child what they most need. Third, we offer really strong academics and just enough support for students to work in what I call is productive struggle. That place where students are pushed and stretched right at their learning edge. And we also know that every kid is different in that way. Fourth, we have a consistent commitment to social justice. We name our commitment and our priority around embracing kids and their lived experiences that I talked about. And some of the ways we do that is we create spaces for students to lean into what we call curious and brave conversations about diversity and difference. And we support students to go out in the world and have complex conversations and really be good, amazing humans. And the last piece of our mission that I also feel is equally important is that we use data day in and day out to inspire our instruction. We pay attention to kids' growth and we adjust accordingly. So those are the 5 pieces I want you to be looking for when you see our videos in just a little bit. Okay, So let's take you to how I believe the story ends. Let's start with the ending first. Let's just get it out of the way, right? What happens to students when they leave Carroll? So over the last 6 months in my conversations with alumni, I am thrilled to report that they are happy young people and they are so grateful to Carroll, and they have leveraged all of their skills and found their way in the world. And you'll see the list on the left of just a sampling of what our Carroll grads go on to do. Some of them are very skilled and thoughtful social workers and teachers. Others are scientists, designers, tech gurus, and amazing artists. So while they've all gone off to do really amazing things, when I met with alumni, there were two very clear takeaways that I learned in meeting with them. Over and over and over, they talked about this. They told me that after Carroll, they knew how to self-advocate for themselves. One young person said to me, Carroll taught me how to use my voice. I mean, how powerful is that, of all the skills? So alumni said that we do well teaching kids how to self-advocate. And the second thing they said is that they felt so much more confident in themselves and, importantly, what they could offer the world. So you'll see a quote here from Steve Baldini. He's actually a current member of our board, and he reports that the confidence and the skills I gained at Carroll transformed me literally overnight, and I was free to become myself. Okay, so you may be wondering, well, so you told me what the ending was, so why does it work? And I want to tell you a little bit about why I believe it works and why folks are grateful. Many of our students report feeling broken and misunderstood and brimming with shame and disappointment when they come to us. And Carroll works because they leave us more whole, more self-confident, and they have these advocacy skills. And other heads of schools and principals, when our kids leave us, will often say to me, your kids are so self-confident and your kids know how to advocate for themselves in respectful, amazing ways. So both our alumni report that, and then the places in which they go also report that. And then school leaders also say to me, and by the way, they also know how to talk about the world, and they know how to write a 5-paragraph essay, and they know how to solve logic problems. So again, you'll see listed here on this slide, I believe that Carroll works because we actually live our mission, and we're able to get the teachers you'll see in these videos today. When you are in the presence of them, you can just feel their dedication and desire to support our kids. We also engage in cutting edge research and innovation, both formally and day-to-day in our classrooms. And we really do leverage the dyslexic advantage in every space we can for our kids. And so the quote on the right are from two current parents, Jess and Scott Turco, and they say, we didn't choose Carroll like you choose any other school. Carroll chose us because it was the only place our son could receive what he needed. So those are all the ways that Carroll works. And I just want to highlight two other ways. Why else does Carroll work? Students and alumni alike all report that they just knew or know they belong at Carroll. They say to me all the time, teachers and adults, they just get me, they understand me. And they also report that they know that their classmates also understand where they came from. They understand how they learn. And so there's this, just being at Carroll alone allows kids to feel a sense of belonging, and they see themselves in so many ways. We work really hard to cultivate a school culture where belonging is prolific in all of our spaces with both students and adults. And we know that belonging begets connection, and connection begets love and appreciation and strengths. I've heard this from over 200 adults that work at Carroll, all the parents and grandparents that I've talked to, board members, alumni. So that's a bit about belonging. We believe in this belonging community. And then the other reason why Carroll works is that we really believe in a culture of giving. We know Carroll families who give generously of their time, of their talents, of their financial resources. And because of this giving, all kinds of gifts, families show their appreciation to us, over and over at this special school. So I just want to end with a quote, excuse me, from one of our current teachers, Ryan Walker. And Ryan reports, Carroll is a warm and welcoming community that truly cares about and believes in each person who is part of it. So I hope that you can get a sense of our belonging and our culture of giving in the next couple of minutes. So, knowing you probably are anxious to know more about what happens at the middle school, I am pleased to introduce my colleague, Allison West, and she is going to share her insights on how the middle school works. So over to you, Allison.
Thank you so much, Renee. Hello and welcome, special visitors. And for those of you who are joining us from sunny locations, please send us that warmth and sunshine our way. We're heading for a freeze up here. My name is Allison West, and I am the division head of the middle school, which serves students in grades 6 through 8 on our Lincoln campus. And I started at Carroll back in 2001 and have worn many hats over the years. Like Renee, I too left Carroll for a bit, and the magic of this place just brought me right back. And I haven't looked back since. This is my 17th Special Visitors Day. And although it does look different from how we've hosted these in the past, I am really happy that you've carved out this time to be with us today. To give you a little information about the middle school, we instruct 239 incredibly bright, creative students, all of whom who have a language-based learning difference. Today, we have a series of videos that we believe capture some of the amazing ways that your students think, create, learn, collaborate, and persevere. And as you watch these videos, I hope that you will see the examples of how our educators infuse the principles of Orton Gillingham in order to optimize that instruction for each of our learners. And these principles include things like instruction that is direct and explicit, multisensory, sequential. Teachers are building from known to unknown, from simple to more complex, providing repetition, and so much more. You will see examples of teachers modeling and instructing very directly, along with examples of students having opportunities for guided practice. You'll hear teachers checking for understanding and guiding students with questions while offering repetition as needed. What you won't see in these videos are all the considerations that we make in creating an academic program for your child. And I want to take a moment to say that we really take a whole child approach, being sure to consider the unique pattern of academic and cognitive strengths and challenges, their identity and lived experiences, as you heard from Renee, their social emotional well-being, along with their gifts and their talents, which we will often refer to as their dyslexic advantage. Middle school is a very special time, as I'm sure you are experiencing yourself, and early adolescence, it's a time of so many physical, mental, emotional, and social changes. You may be noticing that your middle schooler is craving more independence, a sense of autonomy. They may begin to question the world as they're developing their critical thinking skills and developing a greater sense of empathy. This is a time that I often see students have a strong need for a sense of belonging and community. They need to be seen and heard. And all of these important developmental features of early adolescence are also important factors for us to consider as students progress through 6th, 7th, and then 8th grade. And although we serve one type of learner, we do have 239 unique versions of that learner in the middle school. And we truly strive to ensure that each child is getting just what they need to thrive as they progress through the middle school years. So as we move into these videos, I invite you to share your observations and your noticings in the chat. And if questions arise, please pop those into the Q&A feature so we can be sure to answer those. All right, in our first video, We are going to start by stopping by to see a full 6th grade team meeting. And for a little context, morning meeting is a component of Responsive Classroom, which is a curriculum we use school-wide to support the social emotional development of our students. It's an opportunity to preview upcoming events, to greet one another into the school day, enjoy community building activities, and more. And an interesting point to make here is about 2/3 of our 6th graders join us from the lower school, from the 5th grade, which means that we welcome on average about 20 new students into our 6th grade. And these full grade morning meetings help the 6th grade community develop the positive ethos and build connections with each other over the course of the year. So after morning meeting, we're going to stop by a language focus area class where students are working on building their writing and comprehension skills through a project-based approach. They're spending lots of time in our Arts and Innovation Center and Makerspace. And focus areas are one of the opportunities for us to really give each child what they most need by providing additional targeted instruction in an area of great need. And then we will move into a 6th grade math class led by Mr. Dunkel. And here you're going to see a lesson that is designed to strengthen students' understanding of fractions by identifying, recognizing, and then building themselves parts of whole numbers. And you're going to see Mr. Dunkel employ some of those important OG principles that I spoke of, including starting from known, building to unknown, using manipulatives to make it multisensory, and providing that repeated practice as needed. So again, if you notice some interesting features, please add those to the chat.
I've noticed at recess this week, we're doing a really nice job at keeping games to a reasonable number of people. 10 in the Gaga pit, 7 for football, 10, 12 for basketball, splitting up into 2 football games, top and bottom if we need to. And I've noticed when that happens, the games get started quicker. They seem to have fewer conflicts during them. Kids seem to have more fun. So thank you all for working together.
Welcome, special visitors. I'm Nicole Jones.
And I'm Tommy Cunningham.
This is an 8th grade language focus area class that has a writing and project-based learning component. In this course, students are doing a lot of writing and they're also using art and technology to showcase their learning.
This is one of the projects that I've started doing with the hero's journey. What we're doing is we're making like a comic strip of one of the adventures that Bod has through the beginning of the book. So I just finished this page, and what this one is about, he goes to like this pawn shop, and he is trying to sell this very important item to a man, and he finds out that it's very valuable, and so the man locks him up in his place or pawn shop, and Bod has to find a way out.
So one of the things we're going to talk about today is what is a part of a whole? It's a very broad sort of question, and I understand that. What I mean is this. Anything can mean, we're going to do a bunch of stuff today, but anything can mean one whole. I could write something that you might see when you were in a different class, and I could say, hey, look at this neat number line. This is 0 and this is 1. But anything in between there has to be a part of that whole, doesn't it? I'm not asking you what fraction lands right there, although many of you know. I don't want you to call it out. Or what fraction lives here. But those are fractions, right? Yeah. So when I talk about what is a part of a whole, when I put this up on the board and, never going too quickly, the idea is, with our quiz and our rods today, we're going to go through and define what that means. All right, So I'm going to put a number up here for you guys to think about while I pass these out.
Can I test them out?
Nope. That is a fraction you should be familiar with. We have to then be able to judge what fraction of something if that piece can change. And this is what I mean. This is 1/2, right? Right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is it now? Kevin?
2/4.
2/4. Beautiful. Now, is that equal to 1/2 though, really?
Yeah.
Sure it is. What is it now? Slide on the family stone.
4/8.
It is 4/8. Isn't that 1/2 though?
Yeah.
Could I keep doing that?
Yeah.
Chop, 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 chop. It would get really difficult to see, but that's exactly what I could do. It all changes. But all of our fractions are going to remain equivalent. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do right now is to take those shapes, use every single one of those shapes to build a very cool looking 6x6.
Does it have to be 3D?
6x6. No other rules. You are untethered. One of the beauties of Carroll is the way you take thought and send it into sort of the physical plane. Just dealing with mathematics, not sports, not anything, just mathematical. If I look around and see the different ways that this was done, it is so cool to see.
All right, in this next section, we're going to start off by popping into Miss Crement's classroom, where she's teaching a writing lesson with the goal of helping students write descriptive and expanded sentences, or she describes spicy sentences. She's using a curriculum that uses visual symbols to directly teach parts of speech and help students build these spicy sentences. You're going to see that she uses really fun images that help students generate those interesting, creative written sentences. And she's guiding students in a collaborative learning experience that's helping make sure that every student has a chance to take that risk, share their thoughts, and actively participate. Then we're going to pop on over to science with Miss French. And after previewing the objectives for the class and helping students understand and know what to expect, they're going to head outside into Bounder's Woods to gather some data on trees as they explore a question. Students are then going to use that data in their math class, where they will learn to graph and analyze it. And this type of interdisciplinary learning helps to foster what I like to call real deep learning. And after that, we are going to visit a physical education class with Coach Kometz, and we're going to get a sneak peek at a fun tradition in our middle school, the badminton tournament, that results in the winner winning a Golden Birdie Award. And our multis, which includes visual arts, performing arts, physical education, bounders, makerspace, and music, are a real opportunity for our students to explore their gifts and talents and also discover some new ones. So enjoy.
So Flex Skills is a time we can give students what they most need. So we looked at the students' data and we found where do we think kids need the most support. So I teaching a writing skills class. Right now we're specifically focused on expanding sentences and moving beyond really simple sentences. A lot of students want to use helping verbs all the time, like is and was, and we're really encouraging them to use more juicy verbs and action words. So right now we're really focused at the sentence level in writing skills and making sure students have complex sentences that start in different ways, that use different kinds of vocabulary. And I'm using a really multi-sensory approach based on Writing Skills by Dana Hamburg-King and Framing Your Thoughts. And we're really labeling and looking at kind of color-coded multi-sensory approach to the different parts of a sentence and figuring out how they can be put in different orders and have slightly different meaning or make our sentences more complicated. All right, give me a bare bones sentence about this picture. And I want to remind you, we are going to have a subject and a predicate, and we're trying not to use helping verbs like is and was. So we're gonna use a strong verb and a subject. Sergio.
The pig jumps.
The pig jumps. Thank you. Allie, what do you have?
The pig is jumping.
Let's take out is. We're trying not to use those helping verbs and just have really juicy. Can we think of another word?
Oh.
I want to see strong silent hands. Can we think of another word besides jump to explain what the pig is doing here? Maddie?
Leaps.
The pig leaps. I love that. Asher, thanks for the hand.
The pig hurdles.
The pig hurdles. Excellent. So we're working on these sentences where we're taking out those helping verbs like is, and I know that that's what we really, really want to do. But our sentences are going to sound spicier if we take out that helping verb. So we've been adding on with adjectives and adverbs. So you're going to write 5 adverbs, 1 on each card, just like we did cards yesterday. But I want you on each card to write an adverb that answers the question, how. What's an adverb that maybe answers how the pig was soaring?
The pig gracefully soared.
Gracefully is an excellent word that describes how, Asher. I love that.
How many are we supposed to do?
5, 1 on each card. Hopefully is an excellent one.
Wait, can I do
All right, here's what we're gonna do. You are gonna write a sentence using your cards. You're gonna move them around. You're gonna give me a sentence that has adjective, noun, verb, adverb. Okay? Create a sentence that follows this pattern using your cards. Go.
So,
Oh yeah, chubby mermaids.
Can you write
Well,
this?
wait,
mermaid.
The chubby mermaid
Make
wild
sure you
and
have that.
powerful.
No, it needs to be
No,
a
that
verb
means
and
it's
then a
wild.
noun.
Oh, powerful.
So a verb first.
I
Wait,
will
wait,
be
wait.
using
We can't use is.
Noun,
Wait, we need a
verb, adverb.
We need
No,
a
because
verb.
we need to use one of these, Allie.
Yeah, those are your verb cards.
So we need to use tackles, types, runs,
Eats
jumps,
wildly.
eats wild.
Okay, the
Perfect.
chubby mermaid. Wow, what is that little chubby mermaid eating?
I don't know.
I wonder. All right, what do you think for punctuation here? We need
We
something.
need an exclamation point.
This is a 6th grade science class. We just finished up our do now. And then later today in class, we're going to be heading into Bounders Woods to collect some data. So we're going to spend a little bit of time in the classroom today just talking about what our question is that we're trying to answer and what we're going to be doing out in the woods. We're going to break up into smaller groups because you're going to be working in teams. And then we're going to spend most of class today in Bounders Woods. We have a question that we're trying to answer as a class. You all just made some predictions about this question. So we're trying to figure out whether the evergreen trees or the deciduous trees in Bounders Woods have bigger trunks. We're going to go out and collect our data. So we're going to measure those trees and just get some information to help us answer the question. And then sometime, either later this week or next week, you're actually going to take this information to your math class. And Mr. Dunkel is going to help you analyze the data. So you're going to make graphs to look at this data and see if one tree is a bigger size than the other ones. And then in both classes, in math and science class, we're going to draw some conclusions to try to answer that question. And my hope is that it's actually not obvious. I'm hoping the data is a little bit complicated, so we really have to use some of those data analysis skills to come up with our answer.
But does everybody see how this tree has sort of a wide part at the bottom, and then if you look up, the trunk gets a little bit more the same? So we don't want to measure all the way at the bottom, and we want to measure at roughly the same place on each tree. So that's why we brought this meter stick, because we're going to measure 1 meter up from the ground on all the trees. So the meter stick holder, when you get to your tree, your job is just to set the meter stick down and find a spot where we can start our measuring. The meter stick holder is going to have another important job. So Oliver, can I actually use this measuring tape for a minute? So these measuring tapes are kind of tricky because they don't start right at 0. So the meter stick holder is going to make sure that they find that red 0. Does everybody see it? And they're going to hold it right here at the meter stick. So Grace, you want to hold it? And then Oliver can take this and you're going to walk it around the tree. And we want to make sure that it's pretty tight and also that it's kind of staying at the same height all the way around. We don't want it to get saggy. So see how it got a little higher on that side? So you might need to lower it down a little bit. You're going to bring it back and see how many centimeters until we get back to that 0. So where are we at? 4. Not 4. 85. 84, except this is actually not 84 centimeters. So now that we know the 84, I'm gonna actually let go of this. Grayson, you can let go. And I'm gonna pull down the whole measuring tape so we can see if we pass that 100 mark.
Should we write this out for our first tree?
No, everybody can do their own first tree. But so here's my 0 again. Let's look and see if I passed any hundreds. So here's 100. 200. Do you think I'm gonna pass the 300?
No.
Probably not, right? But let's just double check.
No.
No, I'm gonna get really close. So I passed the 200 and I got to 84. So how far around was this tree?
284.
284.
In circumference.
In circumference, good.
Hello, I'm Mike Kometz, along with my colleague Alyssa DePaulo. We are your middle school physical education teachers. As you see today, we're playing badminton. We're in the middle of our badminton tournament, playing for the Golden Birdie. Some of you in the past may have heard about that Golden Birdie, and these guys will get a chance to win one today. Physical education may still look the same, but it has changed dramatically over the years. We still have a lot of fun. We play, we run, we are very physical, we're very active, and that's what our students need these days, is to get out and have some fun. And this is a venue for them to do that.
That badminton tournament is really fun to watch. All right, so for our last video installment, we are going to start off with another multis class. We're going to visit an improv class led by Miss Chattel. And here you will see students engaging in really fun activities that are also building their rapid naming and reaction time skills, which are some cognitive processes that are essential for reading. So they don't even know it, but they're building their reading network even when they're doing improv. And in this space in particular, on this stage, this is where we see creativity really soar. And I'm especially excited because for the first time in 2 years, our performing art and music teacher are able to organize a spring play. So we're really looking forward to that. After we visit improv, we're going to stop by an Orton Gillingham tutorial class led by Mr. Summers. And you're going to see here how Mr. Summers creatively adjusts a game to provide really important repeated practice on some previously learned skills and concepts. And the key here is that Mr. Summers is going to analyze his students' performance during this game and then use that information, use that data to inspire tomorrow's lesson. And then our last stop for today will be a visit with Mr. Mulready, and he runs our makerspace in our Arts and Innovation Center. And he's going to share a little bit about a project that many of his students have been working on. The makerspace here at Carroll is a really special spot. This is a space where students can truly make their thinking visible, and it's a chance for students to show their creative thinking and their gifts in really exciting ways. Enjoy.
Let's begin with Zip Zap Zop. Do you remember that game, Zip Zap Zop? So everybody repeat after me. Zip. 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 Zap. 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 Now say it a few times. Zip zap zop. 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 As a reminder, when you play the game, you're going to point to someone and say zip. That person will say what word next? Zap. And then that zap person will say what word next?
Zap. Zap.
Zap. Zip.
Zap.
Zip.
Zap.
Zip.
Zap.
You go as actively as you can. Use your full body. Be as present as you can. Show me a picture of kids having fun with snowballs. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, freeze. Show me a group of kids on the top of a Ferris wheel. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. Nice with the emotions, I love it. Michael, when we do a scene and the story is over, what is the information I would have known about these characters? What do I need to know? Who they are to each other, their relationship, where they are, and what's the other one I like to always add? How they feel, okay? All right, Sawyer's line, you're going to initiate. Your line A, your line B, you will come on out, you will try to start a scene, speak nice, loud, and clear so we can hear what's happening, then you go to the back. If you need inspiration to start a scene by a setting, just let us know. Are you two ready? All right, come on out, action. Where's the dog?
I don't know. I just put him right there, but then he left.
Did you walk the page?
I mean, you never told me to.
Oh, the lost dog.
Oh, we can put posters on the tree. It'll be fine.
Great idea. See, nice way to put that. You came up with information. So I feel like maybe you were outside on the street, possibly you were maybe neighbors, friends. Did you know each other? Yeah, and what was the feeling? Elizabeth, what's the emotion that captured in that scene?
Sadness.
Sadness, and I would say also because of the letter W. They were worried. Yeah, they were worried. So
this is the very popular game known as Bananagrams, which a lot of people have played. John and Ben have played, but we play it a little bit differently in tutoring. We're making words. The key is to make words. And you get points for different elements that are in your word. Step one before we play is to do what?
Group like in
Organize your tiles. And you're looking to get vowel teams and blends and digraphs because you can get bonus points before the game even starts. All right, I see what you're doing, John. You're separating your vowels first, right? Mm-hmm. And then are you going to form vowel teams?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any more vowels? I see.
I have an A. That's it.
What about this?
Oh, AU.
What month?
August.
There you go. Someone who re-speaks does what?
Like speaks again.
Speaks again. What tense? Present or past?
Present.
Present tense. Look at that word. Score that word for us, would you? All right. What's this word?
Steal.
Steal. Like you steal something. Now, what would you call somebody who steals something?
Stealer.
Will it fit on here?
Yeah.
Where would you like to put it?
You could take off the S and put it right there.
That's like
All right, score your word.
And then
What do you got?
this, which would be
What do you got?
I have ST, which is a constant blend, so it's 3 points.
3 points.
And vowel team 4 points. That's
So you're up to
7.
7.
And then another 5. So and then another 10 points. So that's 17.
Add 17.
I'm up 1.
I'm Mr. Mulready, and I teach makers in the Fab Lab. And currently, we're working on these light boxes. So what the students learn how to do is Carroll draw, which allows us to do things like this acrylic and putting names in or pictures. We also learn how to make these boxes using an online website called MakerCase. But the most important thing is they learn how to actually solder. In here, the lights, which are turned on now, they solder the lights to wires and to resistors so they get to know how resistors work, and they light up their acrylic. Now some students have some that are a little bit more advanced than this. This is a basic box that we start with to learn how to solder. We've had Fenway Park built, the left field, We've had some multi-dimensional ones where there's a doe and a fawn in the front and a buck in the middle, and then some trees in the background, and there's lights cascading. We've had a paw print that's cut out with a dog in the middle in acrylic, and then vines in the back, and the light is splashing up. So this is a great class for students to be able to unleash their creativity. They get to kind of think out of the box, and they're taking what they envision and actually making it. So I think for that hands-on, I think they like that. But they also like the fun of the class.
I'm making like a little light box for my cousin who's going to BC. So I have like the BC logo, and I'm gonna make it like
very cool.
Making it red and yellow for like maroon and gold.
Awesome. So did you know how to do this before you took this class?
No, I had no idea.
Good morning again, everyone. I am Kelly Fanagrassi. I'm the Director of Individual Giving here at Carroll School, and I hope you enjoyed your tour. The Makerspace down at the A&I Center is one of my personal favorite spaces on the middle school campus, just because it's extraordinary to see what our students are able to create. Those light boxes, when you see them in person, are really quite mind-blowing. The one that Josh was explaining about the doe and the fawn was truly magical. And on a day like today, a little magic feels kind of nice. So we're going to do a little bit of Q&A this morning. Thank you for those of you who've already put some questions into the Q&A box. Please, during the time that we're answering these questions, if you have a question that pops into your mind, please put it in there and we'll make sure to address it. It is such an extraordinary community of learners and educators here. There's a lot to share with you, but we're going to start with the first question, and this will go to Allison, Director of Middle School. How are you sharing each child's academic and social emotional progress with parents? Which is a great question.
Thanks, Kelly. That is a great question. At Carroll, we offer 4 parent conferences throughout the course of the year, and it's an opportunity for us to share the goals we are setting with students, along with the progress in the areas that we're continuing to target. In fact, this March, we're coming up to another round of parent conferences, and we describe these as data-inspired conferences. We are a little obsessed with collecting data, all kinds of data that students don't even realize we're collecting, and using that to inform our practice and really gain a solid understanding of trajectory of growth. And that will be shared with families in March. And we also offer meetings at any point in the year if a family is curious to learn more about a student's growth. We welcome the opportunity to meet with folks anytime.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Allison. The next question is going to be for Dr. Renee, and it connects to this idea of growth here at Carroll. And this grandparent has asked, can you please tell the audience how you build on Carroll teaching from each successive grade? So how intentional are we of transitioning our students from grade to grade?
That's such a great question. And it really gets at nothing you've seen in these videos or what we've talked about this morning. So I'm so glad that that this grandparent asked. So much of the work at Carroll is behind the scenes, right? And a lot of that work is done by our faculty. So what I want to talk about is what our teachers do, what our educators do in order to be able to do what you're asking. Our teachers work in a team-based approach, as Allison talked about. Many of our conferences are team-based, but within teams, we are talking about kids all the time. Educators are really trying to think through what makes the most sense for each particular kid. And connected to that, and teachers do that on a regular basis, as Allison mentioned, and that sort of helps our understanding of kids as they move from grade to grade. At the end of every school year, we do this, in the beginning of every new school year, we do this thing we call team-to-team transfer. So you can imagine a whole group of, let's say, 6th grade teachers who've spent a year really getting to know your children. Then they meet with the 7th grade team and really try to transfer that knowledge and understanding to the receiving team. And so we have a lot of work that happens behind the scenes that kids or parents or grandparents never see to really support what you're asking about. And then the second thing I'll talk about besides our team-based approach is our real commitment as adult learners. Every adult that works at Carroll is really committed to lifelong learning. And one of the ways that we do this work is a commitment to professional development. The professional development we offer at Carroll it's really unlike any other school out there. We have 5 core courses that all of our educators take and understand. And so in doing that, all of our educators have a real base understanding knowledge that they share with their colleagues. And you can imagine that that is really, really helpful as kids move from grade to grade, 6th to 7th, 7th to 8th, when all the educators have shared understanding about how kids learn, different types of approaches, thinking about how to access kids' knowledge. We find that that shared understanding really helps expedite kids' growth because all the adults are sort of learning side by side. Does that make sense, Kelly?
It does, absolutely.
Okay.
And there's so much magic in the way that we approach things. And this next question, I think, also touches on that, which is for Allison to answer, which is what is our student to teacher ratio at Carroll and why?
Another great question. In the middle school, our class sizes range from a one-on-one OG tutorial to a class of 12 students. And so that feels like a large range, but when we look at the average, we're about a 3-to-1 ratio, which means that for every 3 students, we hire an educator. And it allows us to have this differentiation in the group sizes because some students really need to learn in a smaller group while others are ready to flourish in larger groups as they develop skills and they're becoming more independent and automatic. And the reason why that's so important, one of our mantras is we go as quickly as we can and as slowly as we need to. And as we are creating individual academic programs for each of your children, we are taking into account all of those factors that you've heard us talk about over the course of this morning to construct groups in such a way that are going to allow students to move as quickly as they can, but having teachers go as slowly as we need to build that mastery, to build that confidence, and to help students develop the self-advocacy skills that we heard Dr. Renee share, kids take with them beyond Carroll.
Thank you so much, Allison. And I think our next question sort of touches on this idea that both of you have expressed, which is we have one type of learner, but we have many different versions of that type of learner. And this question is about where do our students come from? And this is for Dr. Renee.
Thanks. I knew you were going to tell us who had to answer that. Okay, happy to answer that. So where do our students come from? Carroll draws from 89 communities, mostly in Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire. Some of our kids drive or are driven, up to an hour and a half, 2 hours every day, each direction. So you can imagine the breadth of communities that we draw from. And those communities some of them are urban, rural, suburban, so really diverse communities. Families with varied lived experiences, families with varied family incomes. And so what I always like to say is that dyslexia doesn't discriminate, right? It appears in all communities. And we have a real commitment to trying to support as many families as we can to have access to a Carroll education. And so we really rely on financial aid to really help us draw from as many communities as we can. Yeah, I think I'll stop there.
It is such a diverse community with so many different viewpoints and just the conversations you'll hear on the playground, at lunch. Students definitely are taking something from each other's perspectives, and it does enrich their experience here at the school. The next question is for Allison, and this one is actually more about our extended day program. What else does Carroll offer beyond the academic day?
Our extended day program is incredibly robust. We have over 85% of our students participate in some form of extended day programming. We offer a variety of sports every season, whether that's soccer, basketball, hockey, cross country, track, flag football. And there really is a spot for everyone. We have multiple teams. So we have a space for kids who want to try on a sport for the first time. And then we have spaces for really talented athletes who are looking for that competitive edge. And for kids who are not into athletics, we have performing arts and music and art and makerspace offerings throughout the afternoon, including bounders as well, getting outside, building forts, learning how to wood carve. And we also offer an extended day afternoon study hall. And this is really designed for students who want to get their independent homework done. Maybe they need a little additional support, and they'll have teachers available to support them in doing so. So we offer a wide variety of after-school extended day offerings. Our Fridays are also a little different. It's a half day for students, but we offer a really exciting Friday extended day program. Unfortunately, today we had to cancel it, but we were prepared to take over 40 students skiing at Neshoba Valley this Friday. And in the spring, we're looking forward to having some fun adventures at Kimball Farms and paintballing and all sorts of exciting trips for Friday afternoons.
Thank you so much, Allison. Definitely the Friday trips I find as a staff member, occasionally I envy our students and wish I was going with them out to have these adventures. Our last question is a little bit more of a nuts and bolts question for Dr. Renee. And this is really about Orton Gillingham. One of our audience members was wondering, what is our Orton Gillingham and how does it influence how we teach at Carroll?
So this is a really big question. So whoever offered this question, I am happy to spend time with you outside of this call. And I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, so we could nerd out about it together. So I'll give sort of a general overview. You'll often hear folks talk about OG, and OG stands for Orton Gillingham approach. And the Orton person is Samuel Orton. He was a longtime neuroscientist. And the Gillingham part, so Orton and the Gillingham part is Anna Gillingham. And Anna was a longtime teacher and practitioner. And together they created a multisensory approach to teaching kids how to read. And when I say multisensory, I mean teaching kids how to read and understand language using both sight and hearing and touch and kinesthetic methods in order to really teach them how to read. And more importantly, to understand language and how it's built. And so we like to say that OG or Orton Gillingham is everywhere. It's based on a set of principles that I'm happy to share on offline. But I think the really important thing to remember here is that when we use this approach, it's not an approach, it's an approach that teaches kids actually how to think and how to strategize and how to work through logic to unpack language to help them learn how to read and understand. And I think when we teach kids how to think, we certainly allow them to be more self-confident in their learning. But what that allows for them is to have less and less adult support, right? So we teach them the skills for them to be able to do it on their own. And there's all kinds of cool and exciting ways that we do that. But I think the takeaway is we teach kids how to read in multisensory ways. We know that that's actually best for all people, but teaching in multisensory ways is essential for our kids. We don't have a choice. It's what works. It's what the research has told us. And that's what we do. So again, if anyone wants to spend some more time talking about Samuel Orton or Anna Gillingham or anything to do with that particular approach, I'm happy to do so. And I'm sure Allison would too.
Thank you so much, Dr. Renee. Well, we've now come to the end of our program. It is 10:04. For anyone's questions we didn't get to this morning, we will make sure to reach out and answer your question. We're just so grateful that you came here today. It's cold and rainy and slightly freezing here in Massachusetts. from wherever you joined us this morning, thank you for taking the time to be with us. I hope you learned something about how we teach and learn at Carroll, and I hope that it gives you an opportunity to have a deeper conversation with your student about what their experience is here at the school on a daily basis. Because of the way our families show up for us, giving in so many ways, volunteering of their time and their talents, as well as giving financially to the school, Carroll continues to grow and to thrive. And for that, we are just grateful for you being a part of this community. Thank you for being here today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And we look forward to one day having the opportunity to host you again here in person. Until then, please take care. We enjoyed having you today.